Silverstone in Great Britain plays host to round 7 and 8 of the 2019 Euroformula Open Championship, and under very overcast skies with an air temperature of just 13 degrees, track temperature of 16 degrees and high humidity of 78 degrees, there could be a threat of rain in the air. Scott Wood, we're here in the commentary box alongside me, who has been for the season here, is Elliot Wood once again. And Elliot, one or two new faces this weekend, but some of the main championship contenders here otherwise occupied and not in attendance, so a possible chance as the cars head out for the 25-minute qualifying session, the first one of the weekend, for someone new to hit the top step. The question is, who's it going to be?
Yeah, there's lots of new faces here. There's a new track surface. There's new and returning teams. There's a lot of unknowns for this weekend, and qualifying is going to be the first time we're really going to see the competitive order of this weekend.
Well, in terms of the new faces, as the drivers head down the Hangar Straight, as we are using the full Grand Prix layout this weekend. And there is one of our new faces to this weekend into the championship. He's a British F3 regular, Manuel Maldonado, of course, who is the cousin of former F1 driver turned sports car racer Pastor Maldonado. And there is Christian Hahn, who is part of the Qualy outfit. That there is Linus Lundqvist, followed by Daniel Kiergaard. And here's one of the home favourites, possibly the home hero, Billy Munger, who is back on home soil. And I saw on social media earlier on this week, he was feeling very confident for a good result. And I think given how he's performed and improved over the season, in his first full season of Euroformula Open, Elliot, I think possibly, looking also at his performance in practice yesterday with a 6th fastest time at one stage, people who are fans of his may have a right to be confident.
They definitely should. Carlin has been super quick in free practice. Billy's, because obviously Billy has to have a special system in his car, and that has had several technical problems throughout the season, but it's constantly getting better. They're working really hard on it, and I don't think he had any problems in practice yesterday, so he should be quick in qualifying today.
So some of the new faces who are new this season to Euroformula Open this weekend, one of which is a driver who is stepping in place of the current champion leader Marino Sato, who is not here this weekend. He's got such a runaway champion leader, I guess it doesn't really matter to him so much. But out goes one Japanese driver, in comes another, and it's Honda junior Toshiko Oyu. Now, of course, you're more versed in knowing who Toshio is, so for those who are not sure about him, there is Oyu on track. One thing we should clarify, he's not a Red Bull Junior, but he is in the same car which Marino Sato races it. It was Sato. No, that's
Yuki Tsunoda. Yeah,
sorry, Yuki Tsunoda's car, sorry.
So the Motorpark team has run several Red Bull Juniors throughout this season. Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda normally in those two cars. ADAC Formula 4 and Italian Formula 4 race winner Dennis Hauger from Norway. He's only 16 years old, very young. He's in Liam Lawson's car this weekend, and Toshiki Oyu is in Yuki Tsunoda's car. But Oyu is not a Red Bull Junior, whereas Hauger is. Oyu is backed by Honda, which obviously supplies the engines for Red Bull's Formula 1 team. And he's doing a great job in Japanese Formula 3 at the moment, which is also where NMR Med is racing. And he's taking the car of Marino Sato, who's making a well-deserved Formula 2 debut at Monza this weekend.
Yeah, I was getting drivers mixed up in terms of one Japanese driver for another, but it's two Japanese drivers in two different teams. I forgot which one got replaced by the other. So this is Nikolai Kiergaard, who is no stranger to the UK either, because he's raced in British F4 and British F3 at some stages as well. And Billy Munger, of course, has had his fair share of F3 in the past. On the fly on that, they're using the old, what they call the national pits. So the start of that will be where it used to be in the past at Copse. They're heading through what is the Grand Prix section with the arena layout. Kiergaard with Munger in tow. And we haven't got a proper representative first proper flying lap yet, so we'll see who goes to the top of the times in their first full effort. The session has been declared wet, but that effectively means they've just got to keep their rain lights on, although I can't see anyone with the rain lights on at the moment, it seems. It looks as though the circuit, the scene as Phil is deemed dry enough as it can be, possibly not to warrant it, but everyone out there looking to make the most of the circuit in what is fairly cool conditions, which is not sort of unusual for the UK, but it's cool that it has been the past few rounds, particularly at the likes of the Red Bull Ring and Spa as well. So it's cooler conditions, and obviously the cars and the tyres will behave differently than they had done at the start of the season. Of course, the circuits like Paul Ricard, but it was much hotter conditions, so they've got to try and cope with the variance in temperature this weekend. And
Silverstone used to be an airfield, so this is a notoriously windy place. And going along our two main straights here, the Wellington Straight and the Hangar Straight, if you have a crosswind, it can severely unbalance the car. So the drivers have to be really careful. Even watching the drivers come through the Maggots-Beckett's complex as well, sometimes the loss of stability is purely because a huge gust of wind has pushed them across the track.
It's great to watch them at high speed as Toshiki Oyu, he's not showing commitment, he gets a little bit sideways, big oversteer moment on the exit of Chapel. He was really going for it. I wonder if we can get maybe a bit of a slow motion replay on that later on. Cameron Dass, the American, on his first flying, and that goes to the top of the times, 1:53.744, and that's clear already by almost over 2 seconds to the man who did have the fastest time on his first time around, Christian Hahn, the Brazilian. Toshiki Oyu is third fastest on his first lap. Then Nikolai Kiergaard fourth. An impressive first lap so far for Rui Andrade, the Angolan driver. Fifth fastest in one of, at the moment, his better initial efforts in a qualifying session so far. Yeah,
Andrade, who is coached by Callan O'Keefe, who gave me a helpful track guide earlier this weekend, so I knew exactly what these drivers are doing. And he basically emphasised that you need to commit to all these corners and stick with that commitment if you want to get the lap times here.
Yeah, it is a fast circuit where it does reward, as you say, commitment and bravery, because it's a notoriously, for the most part, very flat circuit, and of course there's very long, fast corners, which means that you get a real chance to commit here, and Cameron Dass is not short on it as he was throwing the car through Vale and Club there, just showing he's using all the track and maybe a little bit more.
Yep, and as you saw, he kept within the track limits there. These Formula 3 cars are very, very susceptible to going into the sky when they hit these curbs too hard. We've seen that a few times in recent years. And there's a rule in Euroformula as well that you can't warm up your tyres by weaving on track after an incident several years ago. So these drivers have to literally fresh out the box, drive as fast as possible, and that will get the tyres up to the temperature they need to set the fastest lap times.
And it's what we like to see, because rather than drivers sort of just backing off and going slowly on track, we want to see them flat out and qualifying pretty much from start to finish. So it does promote drivers going as fast as possible. Speaking of fast as possible, Toshiki Oyu on his second flying lap has really pumped in a quick one, 1:50.447. Dennis Hauger, who again is no stranger to Silverstone, having competed here in British F4 last year, not on the Grand Prix circuit, but he would have competed here on the national layout.
And Lucas Dunham was third, but he's just had his lap time deleted. Cameron Dass has gone up to second. Our current pace, 1:50.44, is only 7/10 off the new lap record for traditional Formula 3 cars set yesterday by Enam Ahmed, who's currently in 11th place. That was a 1:49.714. So if we go any faster than that, it will be a new record for this circuit.
So Enam Ahmed down in 11th place. He's a former British F3 champion, and he's been racing in Japanese F3 this year. So good to see him back on UK soil this weekend in a car that he's relatively familiar with as well, from having raced it in other parts of the world. Toshiki Oyu is going even quicker. There is the Australian Caelan Williams, who is the Australian Formula 3 champion in 2017. And just pushing on as hard as he can at the moment. Williams at the moment 8th fastest in the session. Current top 10 with about 17.25 minutes to go. Toshiki Oyu is quickest. Cameron Dass second, only about a 10th and a half away. And just behind him by about 300ths is Dennis Hauger. Enam Ahmed fourth. We see Christian Hahn fighting away at the wheel. There is the 99 of Rui Andrade, 7th fastest now behind Christian Hahn. Then Caelan Williams, Manuel Maldonado and Nikolai Kiergaard. So Maldonado, Kiergaard and Ahmed and Munger are all familiar with each other from their days in British F3 together. So certainly making the most of it. Now we see Toshiki Oyu, who is getting a bit of a tow here from Manuel Maldonado by the looks of it. Across the line he goes, and he dips under 1:50, 1:49.943. And compared to his practice time yesterday, that is a scorching lap from the Japanese man in his first weekend of a championship as well.
That is only 2/10 off the new track record set yesterday. That is pretty incredible. Obviously, he did have a tow there, which helped. And we saw Enam Ahmed briefly go up to 5th. He's been shoved down. Billy Munger is now up to 4th. Only one of the drivers has dipped under the 1:50 barrier. So probably you do need a tow in these colder temperatures to get those kind of lap times today.
I think Kiergaard might get one answer, maybe Munger as well, because you see Oyu is just, he's backed away a little bit from the back of Manuel Maldonado's car, possibly setting himself up for another lap. You can see there the Honda windscreen, helmet visor strip on Toshiki Oyu's helmet there, and he's just allowing space for both Kiergaard and possibly Munger to get through. Kiergaard in one of our 3 Carling cars here this weekend.
I think he wants a tow again. That's the reason he's letting past. Niklas Krutton jumped up to 3rd. He's in another of the motorpark cars. We've got Linus Lundqvist, the reigning British F3 champion, very quick rounder. He's still in the pits, and he kind of had mirroring a strategy used in free practice, where when everyone went into the pits, he was on track and setting faster lap times. And today it looks like while everyone's on track, he's staying in pits, and then we'll have a clear track once everyone finishes their first runs.
And a rubbered in track as well, because of course he'll get the benefit of everyone doing 3 or 4 laps, laying down some rubbers. He can go out on a completely clear track with no traffic, and it'll be at that point he'll be at its fastest in the session, so he might get a good chance to do that. Enem Ahmed showing how well he knows the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. 1 minute 50.237 to go, second fastest, but he's still less than 3/10 off the provisional pole time. But Kiergaard's flying here, fastest first sector of anybody, personal best in sector 2. So possibly could be a good time maybe to get himself somewhere near the front row of the grid.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers taking a very odd line through Brooklands as they're hitting the grass on the exit, so they're going completely over the curbs. It's unusual. And Kiergaard has jumped up to 3rd, so that is a good lap. And he did set the fastest first sector. Billy Mungo's pitting at the end of his lap, so he won't improve. We've got the sole toe Multicar Lucas Dunner. He has jumped up to 9th place. He had a terrible day yesterday. Technical problems in the first practice session, only did 6 laps and ran out of fuel in the second practice session. Quite an embarrassing mistake there. But he is obviously our main title contender here this weekend.
I'm sure there's some rather sheepish Teo Martin mechanics in the garage yesterday afternoon after that happened. Enem Ahmed is currently on provisional pole pace. Look at that. He's flying in the first and second sector. Fastest of anyone so far. And so, again, using all the knowledge he's had from racing in British F3 when he was the champion a couple of years ago. And as he heads his way out of Luffield and up through Woodcote, Toshiki Oi's getting quicker, though. He's now 10th and a half up on his currently fastest time of the session. Across the line goes Enem Ahmed, goes provisional pole, 1 minute 49.817, but Oyu is on possibly an even faster lap. And he's even though with that lap time, he's still a 10th up on the current fastest lap time just set by Enem Ahmed. So once again, toe or not, Oyu is absolutely flying out there.
And that should put him level with the current track record. I think he'll need a toe through the final sector, though. He does want to get this, because obviously we have 2 very long straights here at Silverstone, and you can make up a lot of time. I think it's worth 6/10 per straight having a toe here, especially in the slightly warmer conditions today. And he's fastest again in the middle sector by a lot smaller margin, but he's still set to beat Ahmed's lap.
Someone else is going well out there is Dennis Hauger. He set personal best in sector 1 and sector 2, but he's only a couple of tenths off the current pole time. But Toshiki Oyu now, I think, looked for a second like he backed off for a second, but I don't think on a lap like this he's going to back off, because if he's got any data, and he is backing up, if Oyu had realised what kind of lap he was on, he may not have backed off there. I did think he was going a bit slowly on the exit of Brooklands, and I thought if he's got a problem with just backing off, but if he'd realised, then that would have been a quite an incredible lap. He could have got provisional pole with that one.
Obviously, this is only their first run. They're going to go on to newer tyres and go out again for a second run. A lot of the time here, they normally spend just in the front wings, seeing how comfortable the cars are over the curbs, and then making the suspension slightly softer, slightly harder. Linus Lundqvist, as we expected, is now heading onto track. He's going to have a lot of free space. Oh, huge slide by you. Corrected it almost instantly.
And that was a slide towards the beginning of the session that I spotted exiting through there. This is Cameron Dass. Looks like his little wiggle through Vale and Club.
Yep.
Nice
a lot
little
of steering correction, which you don't really want here. You want to, if you do make a mistake, you want to just stay committed. That's where you're going to reduce the time loss.
As you said, well held. He did keep it within the track limits, though. So that was good. That was good car control there from Cameron Dass. So at the moment, there are only 4 cars out on track. We've got Enem Ahmed still out on circuit. There is the Manuel Maldonado talking with his Fortec team. He's one of his Fortec engineers. We're past the halfway point in the session, so Enem Ahmed currently has the provisional fastest time from qualifying 1. 1 minute 49.817. Toshiki Oyu, second quickest. And there is Dennis Hauger. That's Toshiki Oyu that's being talked to there. There's Dennis Hauger, third fastest, the Norwegian. And Nikolai Kiergaard, 4th fastest. Caelan Williams, 5th. Then Cameron Dass, Nicholas Crutten, Billy Munga. And then it's Lucas Dunner and Christian Haar round out the top 10, followed by Manuel Maldonado, Rui Andrade, Stuart Wiltshire, who is another British driver who makes his first appearance back here since Spa, and Linus Lundqvist, of course, who is out on track. In fact, here he is.
Well, I believe Wiltshire has actually been at Silverstone recently, driving in the MSV Formula 3 Cup with CF Racing, so he has a lot of experience at this track, and he's likely won quite a few races here as well.
And that would have been, I'm sure, would have been a warm-up for this weekend, I'm sure, to get him sort of dialed in. So he's got some setup data to go as quick as possible. 10 3/4 minutes to go in this first qualifying session. And they'll have a second qualifying session tomorrow to set the grid for race 2. So it's not any time they'll be out there.
And the sun's finally starting to come out now at one side of the circuit. So we could be seeing drivers getting up to pace quicker, as the tyres won't need as much warming with the sun helping to heat up the track surface.
Which means that they can afford possibly to, on their outlets, maybe back off a little bit rather than having to use all their tyre grip and all their tyre life and eat into the possible grip and the life of the tyre in the opening stage. Because you said they can't weave from side to side to kind of warm up the tyres. They have to go flat out, straight out of the box to get the heat in them. So having a slightly warmer track temperature will help them kind of get the tyres back up to temperature, but they want to find a balance where it gets the tyres up to temperature, but then it's still cool enough for them to regulate them as best as they can on the lap so they're not overheating them and scrubbing too much speed off.
It looks like the air is quite cool because you can see the, I wouldn't say the air bending, but you can see it around the sides of the rear wing as they're going down the straights. The little kind of reflection.
I think it's vortices, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of the air moisture kind of vortices sort of flying off the sides of the wings. Always makes you think of Senna Mansell Nice 91 when they're going down the pit straight at Barcelona, and they had sort of these sort of little wisps of kind of air vapour or vortices off the back of the car from the rear wings. That always makes me think of that. So after their quick break in the pit lane, everyone's decided that it looks quite good out on track and decided to follow suit with Linus. So his tactic of getting out there with the track to himself hasn't quite worked this time because everyone hasn't stayed in the pit lane as long as he might have anticipated.
He has been caught out there, and we haven't actually seen him set a quick lap yet. His most recent lap is 2:09, and the current pace is 1:49 up front for Anam Ahmed. So he's 20 seconds off pace. His first sector on his current lap isn't that quick either. 36.5, 4 seconds off the pace.
Effectively, he got through Copse Corner, saw someone coming out the pit lane and went, oh, really? Come on, I thought I had a clear track and now I've got to go out there and contend with traffic. So a bit of an on-track position switch between Christian Hahn and Nikolai Kiergaard. Here is Manuel Maldonado in the Fortec Motorsport run machine. And the Venezuelan makes his way down towards Stowe. And he has been a race winner in British F3, so he knows how to succeed at the top, but it's his first weekend in Euroformula Open. And that circuit, as we said, as many of these British F3 and to a certain extent British F4 drivers know quite well. So Maldonado is going to try and get himself up as higher than 11th place at the moment. 151.510 is his best time at the moment. The top 10 for the record is only separated by 1.1 seconds, so it's a very competitive qualifying session so far with just over 8 minutes to go. And top 3 are in the pit lane at the moment. Enam Ahmed, Toshiku Oyu and Dennis Hauger. Nikolai Kiergaard is on track, as is Caleb Williams. So is Billy Munger, Christian Hahn, Manuel Maldonado, Rui Andrade and Linus Lundqvist. There's Billy Munger. He put on that superb performance. I think he went from the back of the grid to win at Pau, didn't he? In what was slightly greasy, if not almost wet conditions. And put in one of the cracking drivers, one of the best, I think arguably one of the best drivers of the season in Euroformula Open. And the fact that he did that with hand controls on a circuit as tricky and notorious as Pau, that's no mean feat, especially for someone like Billy.
Yeah, in the first race that weekend, he tried the same strategy. Hadn't worked. He explained to me, like, oh, he was so committed to this. And the next day, he went against his engineer's wishes and did the strategy again, and it worked wonders. Even though he crashed halfway through that race, bent the suspension and kept on going. Incredible drive.
He is a real inspiration. I think anyone knows his story, of course. We don't need to remind people what happened a couple of years ago, but the fact he's rebounded so quickly and jumped up through British F3, now into, of course, the Euroformula Open, and still carving out a career for himself in motorsport at this level, and able to run as hard as he is. And effectively from the outside world, for those who don't know his story, you'd watch him on track and think that he's simply just nothing had happened to him, of course, but it's only when you learn his story that you see just how special a driver he really is. Not just because he's racing here in his homeland, because he really did inspire a lot of people in the entire motorsport community around the world. So he's certainly making the most of his opportunity in Euroformula Open, and Carlin have been so accommodating to him ever since they joined them for British F3.
Watching Linus Lundqvist, the reigning British F3 champion, on track right now. He still hasn't set a quick lap. 2:02.52 was his last lap. His first and second sectors are roughly on the pace, but nowhere near the top of the standings.
Yeah, they're better, but not as good as they could be compared to the top of the times, though. It's still the provisional fastest time is Enam Ahmed, 1:49.817, and he's now just headed out on track. So with these last 6 minutes or so, at the moment, everyone is out on track to try and improve. So let's see what they can do. Linus Lundqvist at the moment, according to this time, is currently a second off pole, but this time will probably put him somewhere around the top 10 as he comes across the line. That goes 11th fastest, 1:51.035. Maybe a personal best, but it's the only personal best he's set all session. It's interesting, Lucas Dunner squeezing his way past, I think that's Rui Andrade, I think he was getting past there.
No, Niklas Krusson.
Sorry. Yeah,
driving for Motor Park, and obviously Lucas Dunner at Teo Martin, the only Teo Martin car this weekend, because his teammate Aldo Festante couldn't make this weekend's round, but he will be back for Barcelona and Monza, we hope.
So Lucas sat in 9th place at the moment, and we were talking about just before the qualifying session that Lucas is someone who is becoming a bit of an all-rounder in terms of motorsport, because notice he races single-seaters, he races in the European Le Mans series, he does LMP2 prototype testing, he rallies a Skoda as well. So effectively, if a single-seater route doesn't work, he's got options and a plan B to go elsewhere, whether it's sports cars or rallying or any other route he wants to go to. And he's one of those very rare young drivers, but he's got a very diverse portfolio, and he seems to adapt to different cars pretty quickly, which is not something which all young drivers can do, particularly for someone of his age.
Definitely, and it's very important that you do have that diversity, because those different skills help you can help them bring you back into single-seaters. So a lot of GT drivers have realised that, and he's gone a bit off there onto the grass through Cops, but a lot of the skills you get in GT cars are applicable to the current generation of Formula 3 machinery.
We need to watch Billy Munger. Fastest second sector of anybody so far. Out of Luffield through Woodcote. He was only 100th off, but he's at the fastest final step of anyone. Can he possibly get himself on the front row of the grid? Third fastest. What an effort for Billy Munger out his home circuit. 150.027, and I don't think he's finished yet. 4.25 minutes to go. Billy's on it.
And we did just see him get a little loose on the exit of Copso there, which would have cost him time. Christian Hahn's just beaten him as well. Saw this in practice yesterday. Carlin, a few minutes left to go, just suddenly launched himself to the top of the timesheets. 0.002 seconds splitting Hahn and Munger in 3rd and 4th now.
And the way he's driving, anyone, like I said, anyone who wouldn't know it, you would simply be just astounded with the amount open to realise he's doing this with hand controls. That's what makes it even more impressive. He was only 2/10 off the pole time with hand controls, and that makes it absolutely incredible. This is the replay of Lucas Dunner as he ran wide, just a little bit too much speed on the exit, got a bit of understeer and just ran off onto the curbs there. So that is a lap brewing for Lucas Dunner.
And it looks like Billy Munger's backed off slightly on this lap, which means he won't be going faster, but he does have a lot of clear air, so he sets himself up, times it well. He could be crossing the line with 0 seconds to go and setting the fastest lap of the session.
That's an old Sebastian Vettel tactic, isn't it? Wait to literally the last possible moment to get across the line, be the last person across the line just before the end of the session to be the last person to set the fastest time, so you get the optimal amount of rubber on the track before the session finishes. 3 minutes to go. The pole position time of Enem Armin, 1:49.817, still looms large. Nikolai Kiergaard is currently in 6th position at the moment. Across the line goes, that is the number 25. No, it might be the 29 actually, sorry, that looks like that's Stuart Wiltshire, I think, in that car. 14th quickest at the moment. It has got 25, it's Cameron Dass, sorry, my apologies, Cameron Dass. At the moment in 8th quickest so far. He did set a personal best second sector on that last lap. Nikolai Kiergaard with a personal best second sector on his current lap as well, so he'll be coming up to finish it in the final sector any moment now. And in terms of anyone else, there isn't really anyone else who's on a personal best or a quicker lap, apart from the guys that are kind of roughly sort of 6th position downwards. No one in the top 5 is really making any more moves to get any quicker, although as we say that, Nikolai Kiergaard has now gone 2nd fastest.
Yeah, and Manuel Maldonado had improved it. He's just had his lap time deleted as well. Kiergaard doesn't have a toe from anyone, so that is a very impressive lap. Enem Ahmed's just set the best Sector 1 of the session, a 32.126, which I think is about 10th faster than he did previously. So he could match his lap record, I think, from yesterday at this rate.
If he can keep us of a clear track, although Toshiki Oyu's responded, fastest 2nd sector of anybody. So looks like in the last minute and a half, so we're going to get a real thrash for pole position here between the top 4 or 5 drivers. There is the Motor Park car number 33, and that is of Enem Ahmed. He's the man that's currently on provisional pole. You can see the times at the bottom of the screen. There's the 2 times we need to watch. So Toshiki Oyu is coming up to the end of his lap, and he was bettered his time by about 1/4 second or so. Let's see if he can possibly improve as he comes across the line. He stays 3rd fastest, does a 150.598. Looks like he lost time in that 2nd sector by the looks of it. Across the line goes Dennis Hauger to start another lap, but Enem Ahmed, look at that, he's almost 4/10 up in this current lap so far. If this isn't another improved provisional pole position, it'd have to be a very messy final corner, which it isn't. Nice and tidy. I think he's about to do this. Through Woodcut, flat out to complete the lap with 45 seconds to go. Enem Ahmed crosses the line. Is it pole? Is it ever? 149.233. He has smashed the track record by some margin. What a lap from Enem Ahmed on home soil.
And that final sector, 29.44 seconds. Incredible. Watching his steering input through the whole of that, and there's so little happening inside the car, which is very unusual because Motorpark set up their cars to be quite loose, and he looked so comfortable on track.
And I'm guessing he did that without the benefit of a tow, for the most part. So if he had got a tow, imagine how quick it really could have been. Personal best for Nikolai Kiergaard, 149.822. He goes into the 149s now. So only 3 drivers in it now. Enem Ahmed, Nikolai Kiergaard and Toshiki Oyo are all in the 149s. The fastest driver who is not in the 149s, 4th fastest, that is Christian Hahn, 150.025. Checkered flag goes out on the session. Billy Munger actually is only 2 thousandths off his teammate Christian Hahn.
We've got Toshiki Oyo, who's just set the fastest first and second sectors of the day. 31.993 seconds in the first sector. Absolutely incredible. We're seeing him come through, I believe that's Brooklands corner at the moment. So this is the end of the lap, and he's looking almost as clean as Ahmed through these corners as he comes through from Luffield to Woodcott. And he's going to cross the line in a few seconds now. This could be a mega lap.
Here he comes. Is it going to be provisional pole? Checker flag at Toshiki Oyo. Does he get pole? Yes! 149.073. We thought Enem Ahmed's lap was mega. Check that one out. Toshiki Oyo, the young Japanese talent. No wonder he's backed by Honda. That was a mega lap time on his first weekend in Euroformula Open. Have that one. Brilliant.
And Ahmed hasn't matched it so far. Niklas Krutten, another Motorpark driver, jumped up to 5th, has been shuffled down by Dennis Hauger and Cameron Das, both Motorpark drivers who are in 3rd and 4th now. So Motorpark five of the top six cars at the moment. Nikolai Kiergaard is the only non-Motorpark car in there.
Billy Munger's on an improvement on his lap at the moment. Personal best in sectors 1 and 2. And he's now down to 8 because a couple of drivers have improved, as you said. Nikolai Kiergaard up there. Dennis Hauger now currently 4th. Nicholas Krutten in 6th position. Here is Nikolai Kiergaard on his final flying lap. He's off by 0.3 of a second. Billy Munger is just behind him, I think, off by 4.5 tenths. But if he can get himself into the 149s, that'll be good. Cross line goes Kiergaard. He goes 3rd fastest. Munger goes 4th. So it is an all-Carlin 3rd row. Kiergaard 3rd, Munger 4th. Cameron Das rounds out the top 5.
What did I say about timing? The later you leave it, the quicker you're going to be. That works for the 2 Carlin boys there.
And actually, Billy Munger on the 2nd row of the grid, that actually looks as though it's a pretty good position for him, because if he can manage to squeeze himself through the first couple of the rows, he's actually, to be fair, in a very good position to get a good benefit from the start if he can get himself a good launch. And
although, because of his throttle control system, he claims his starts are bad, but if you watch the first laps of Euroformula this year, he always overtakes people.
So here is the provisional result from what was a thrilling qualifying session. Toshiki Oyo on pole position with a brand new track record, 149.073, beating what we thought was an unbeatable time for Enem Ahmed, 149.233. Nikolai Kiergaard and Billy Munger make it an all-Carlin 3rd row. Look at this, they're all in tandem together. Team Motorpark front row, Carlin 2nd row with Kiergaard and Munger on row 2. Then Cameron Das, Dennis Hauger and Nicholas Kruttenden round out 5th to 7th for Motorpark. Christian Hahn is 8th for Carlin. Linus Lundqvist does improve up to 9th in the end. And Lucas Dunner, who's one of our main title contenders, back in 10th position with some work to do. Caleb Williams back in 11th on a somewhat subdued qualifying session. And then Manuel Maldonado, Rui Andrade and Stuart Wiltshire at the back of the grid to round out our 14-car entry. And a superb effort all round. I'm sure that both Motorpark and Toshiki, and I'm sure even Honda as well, will be absolutely delighted with that effort. And it just shows a great amount of these great, talented Japanese drivers that are coming through now. We've got, of course, Sonoda, Marino Sato, now we've got Toshiki Oyo in there as well. Some great talent coming through in Japan at the moment, and they all seem to be coming through Euroformula Open right now. And it may be stemming from the fact that at the moment in Japanese Formula 3, they use the same Dallara F317 chassis currently, so they're very familiar with these cars, so therefore they get to grips with them more quickly, so it means they can get to grips with the circuits much better because they know the car, and to an extent they also possibly know the engine as well. Yeah,
but they use very different tyres over in Japan. I think Oyu is definitely going to have opened some eyes over in Europe here regarding Formula 1 teams. Looking at both the onboards of Oyu and Ahmed, it was something Ahmed told me yesterday, that he taking less out the tyre and almost not pushing actually extracts more lap time from these cars, especially around a circuit where you're on full throttle for so much of the lap. And I think that shows that technique it's the quickest technique around here, because we've had 5 drivers who've dipped below the lap record.
I guess because you're using less steering, it means that effectively you're using less of the tyre, you're scrubbing it less, therefore you've got more grip and more sort of tyre and rubber available to you across the lap and across the session, because you're not steering so much and understeering and just taking wear and degradation out a bit quicker than you'd like to.
Yeah, you almost don't want to lean too much on the rubber at any point, because it almost bites back at you later, and obviously leads to understeer, and try to correct it, then leads to oversteer.
We saw that a couple of times, particularly with Toshiki Oya when he was full on opposite lock in the middle through Chapel Corner. Just shows how committed he was as they all headed to the pit lane. And as I say, Motor Park should be delighted with that move as well. But again, Qualy in a good position as well, 3rd and 4th on the grid. Kiergaard 3rd, Munger 4th. I would have thought to a certain extent, with the hand clutch he's got with the hand controls, he would arguably get a slightly better feel for the clutch through his hands, maybe than his foot compared to other drivers would. I'm not sure. But we're going to hear now from our pole position winner, a fantastic effort from Toshiki Oya for Motor Park, and he's down with Alfredo in the pit lane.
Toshiko Oya, congratulations. First race in the Euroformula and pole position here in Silverstone. You're happy?
Yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah, qualifying one was very tough. It was a long time waiting.
Apologies for one or two of the audio problems that we were having there on the interview with Toshiki Oya. Hopefully we'll be able to come back to him very shortly if we can to hear his thoughts. But it should be interesting. His first race in Euroformula Open from pole position, and to see how he gets away from the line to try and beat Ellen Arbor and everyone else down to turn 1, that's going to be quite a sight, particularly as we're using him in national pit. So it's not the flat out, just about the flat out run into the right-hander Abbey. It's actually Copse Corner on a national circuit, which means it's a slightly more open corner than it is at Abbey, because Abbey's a slightly tighter run. It's still just as fast, but it should be a very interesting run through there, particularly when there is plenty of runoff there for drivers to make use of. So if she can get herself a good start off the line, there's a possible chance you could get a nice run through the first few corners.
Yeah, it's all about the start here. Looking at the races last year, I think we had Felipe Drugovich and Bent Viscal, and as soon as one was stuck behind the other, they were so annoyed at each other that they couldn't get past.
Well, that's an exciting qualifying session. Race 1 will come up later on, so please join us for more action here from Silverstone from Euroformula Open. But until then, bye for now.
Well done. Congratulations. Well done then to